We've shown you many examples of violent clashes involving Antifa. You'll remember that. But now President Trump says he may classify the group as a terrorist organization. The president blasting the masked agitators on Twitter and saying doing so would make it easier for police to do their jobs. And remember, conservative journalist Andy Ngo, who was assaulted while covering an Antifa protest in Portland, Oregon last month, he's now speaking out in support of the president's idea.
This will provide a framework for local authorities and especially federal authorities to start investigating this criminal cartel for the street thugs that they are. But in addition to the street hooliganism that we see over and over on the streets of America, this movement also has a political ideology that is agitating for a violent political revolution. It's been 4 weeks since my beating and robbery outside the Justice Center, ironically. There's not been a single arrest.
I want to get to the arrest point in a second, but to prove that I did prepare for this segment, even though I wasn't prepared at that moment. So the question is, you can think outside the box on terrorism, but not outside the Constitution. So when it comes to Antifa, I'm curious what you think, Greg. You cannot have protected speech if your speech is used to help criminals create acts of violence.
I think
a
simple solution is to remove masks in public settings, because they're only wearing masks to escape the consequences of their violent actions. I'm not going to blame. I'm not going to blame the Democrats.
Oh, okay. Do you want to blame the media?
Yes. She just jumped in. Okay, I'm going to tell you, Antifa is. I think that Juan will agree with me on this. Antifa is a very small, violent group of losers. They don't represent the Democratic Party. I don't like it when they do that with the alt-right people, and I think but they do find shelter in the greater belief that if your adversary isn't wrong, it's evil, the old Krauthammer line. So that way, if you believe your adversary is evil as opposed to wrong, that justifies violence. That narrative has been pushed by the media. So Antifa is merely really the white dandruff falling from CNN's head.
That is blaming the media. That's very good.
And
that hasn't changed. That's
you could have saved the show 45 seconds. I should have just stopped.
Kate, on the constitutional front, if this is allowed, right, if President Trump were to go through this and it were to pass muster, it goes to Supreme Court. Supreme Court says this is fine. What's to stop other groups then from being targeted in the same way? Now, not that other groups use the masks. I think the mask is an important part.
The argument for Antifa being a terrorist organization is because they're using violence to reach a political end, right? So there then are problems with citizenship. These are American citizens. Can you designate internal terrorist organizations if they are citizens? What's the criteria?
Right.
You can also designate groups like this as gangs, which gives law enforcement more ability to target them, different groups of people,
so like a different category,
militias, right, all of that. But I agree with Greg in the sense that no, Antifa doesn't represent all Democrats. However, Democrats have been protecting Antifa. For example, Andy Ngo says that no one has been arrested as a result of his brutal assault, almost dying as a result of that. The Portland mayor has, claimed that he condemns it, but hasn't made an effort to actually arrest these people. And when people in Washington, D.C. are asked about this, Democrats, they run away and don't answer the question. Whereas with the Tea Party, which was not a violent group using violence as a political ends to a mean, they were accused of all these things, and every single Republican across the country was asked to condemn them over free speech,
That's an important definition of terrorism, Jesse, is to try to advance your political goals through violent means. Your thoughts? Any thoughts?
What was that, Dana? Oh, sorry. Just pulling a Dana. I'm going to be doing that from now on.
I really wonder if I should have come back today.
You're in so much trouble. No, I kind of disagree. I would say I don't want them labeled domestic terror group. I think it gives the federal government too much authority over American citizens to infiltrate them and surveil them. And they've never killed anybody. The Bloods and the Crips, I mean, they've done much more damage and killed many more people. White nationalists, neo-Nazis killed many more people, much more dangerous. They're not designated like that. It literally is a bunch of pale white kids living in their parents' basement that can't throw a punch. They threw a few cement milkshakes.
They can certainly hide, because they've not made any arrests, Juan.
Well, I mean, I would agree. It's because the people in these municipalities don't charge them, and the police have a very hands-off approach.
Okay, can I just add, before you go to Juan, isn't it interesting that these guys don't pull this crap in New York or Boston or Chicago? It's only in Portland, which leads me to think it's like 50 people.
Yeah, it's not like this international network of people that are getting financing. It's just a loose group around the country.
Let's turn it over to you, Juan.
Well, I find myself in agreement with so much that's been said, because I think anybody disturbing the peace, and anyone who's perpetrating violence for whatever cause, political or otherwise, they should be not only stopped, but they should be arrested. I don't know if the mask is preventing the arrest. I don't know why no one's been arrested, to Andy's point. But I will say that in terms of the threat, that's where I see it somewhat differently. I think Antifa means anti-fascist. I think people who are protesting against the kind of white nationalist fascist actions that they perceive on the other side can be legitimate protesters. I don't think they have to be viewed as somehow a threat to the peace or to society. In
but
fact,
you're not legitimizing Antifa's methods, right?
No, but I'm saying, for example, Chris Wray, the FBI director, said just last week that more than half of all the domestic terrorism in this country is white nationalist domestic terror. If the president is sincere here, let's not doubt him. I think if there's somebody that you want to designate as a threat to us, gosh, who's perpetrating most of the domestic terror in America? White nationalists.
But Antifa beat Andy No, a gay Asian man. I don't think he's all right.
Yeah, but look what happened yesterday in California. A gunman who was apparently posting like white nationalist manifestos is killing people.
Since 2000, radical Islam and jihadists have killed many more American citizens than white nationalists.
Yeah.
But they only count after 2001.
And they are designated as terrorists.
Right.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that's an important point.
Well, good. See that. Even after that rough start, I got everyone to agree. I'm on a roll.